it is fair to say that I am disappointed.
The Boys is back with a new season, and this show is praised by the general public for its funny commentary, shocking scenes enhanced by fantastic gore, along with crazy plot twists that have you on the edge of your seat, and a wide variety of characters with entertaining dynamics. All of this is what gives the show its own identity, something to be cherished. However, Season 3 left off on an incredibly sour note, making the experience unsatisfactory. Now, I know a lot of people say Season 3 is the best season, and honestly, a small part of me kind of agrees with that sentiment. I mean, come on, Season 3 has Soulja Boy, and I feel like Soulja Boy was everyone's favorite character. Even though the show tried so hard to make him unlikable, you just can't help but like his character.
You hear that?
Might want to lay off the weed, huh?
And you might want to gargle my ball sack. How hard?
What?
How hard did Butcher suck your dick that you miss him that much? His mouth must feel like a Hoover Deluxe.
Despite Soulja Boy carrying Season 3, the ending of Season 3 was terrible and extremely lackluster. Ryan acted like a little bitch and switched sides, Soulja Boy had an unsatisfying conclusion, and overall, it just felt like the writers wanted to drag out the conflict.
Surely Season 4 is gonna bounce back, right? Right?
No, it doesn't. I mean, it does redeem itself, but before I talk about how it does, let's talk about the bad parts of this season. Shock value is something that happens frequently in The Boys, and many people have conflicting opinions on shock value. I personally believe shock value can be implemented into a story as long as it does not egregiously take the viewers away from the plot. Sometimes you need a little bit of shocking content to add some style or flavor to the scenes. An example of bad shock value content from The Boys is the introduction of Season 3, where they show a guy turning into the size of an ant going inside another man's penis hole. This scene was disgusting, had way too much screen time, and was complete filler. If you thought this was bad, Season 4 has a shit ton of scenes that are just like that. It feels like the writers are trying to come up with ways to outdo themselves in creating the most revolting scenes ever. I honestly wish the writers could just calm down and focus more on the plot and keep the viewers engaged, rather than trying to make people throw up all over their TV. Do you have any idea how many times I've looked away from my screen because I don't want to look at this disgusting shit? Like, is this part of the viewing experience? Am I supposed to look at my wall while I'm watching the show? Is that how it is? A lot of these scenes don't even add anything to the plot. One of the most foul moments of this season is when Hughie got sexually assaulted for like 20 minutes of the episode. This episode spends way too much screen time on Hughie getting violated. At a certain point, it was like, okay, we get it. You don't need to shove this down my throat. You would think this incident would have a huge impact on Hughie's character, but it really doesn't. He gets consoled for a bit, but in the next episode, everyone's back to normal as if it didn't happen. Some people will say that the lack of reaction is the exemplification of how male victims are taken less seriously when it comes to sexual assault. But when you're watching a movie, show, anime, etc., you can't just write whatever you want and say it supports the themes. The execution is important. Imagine you're watching Spider-Man, Peter is sleeping on his bed, and a meteor just randomly lands on his house and he dies. Are you gonna say it's a great way of demonstrating that in life, shit just happens? That in life, unexpected things that are out of your control happen? No, of course not. I feel like in storytelling, breadcrumbs, sprinkles, hints, build-up, foreshadowing are some of the most important things you can do for your viewers. That way, when something important happens, it doesn't feel like an asshole or that it came out of nowhere. The scene of Hughie getting violated served no purpose for his overall character, and the story could honestly suffice without that scene. Sage is a new character and is a new member from the Seven, and she's honestly a garbage character. And also, can someone please tell me, like, why is the smartest person in the world introduced in the 4th season? Like, why didn't we get any breadcrumbs with her character over the past 3 seasons? I understand she wasn't part of the story because she didn't feel like doing anything besides reading books in her house, but the story doesn't give any hints in the first 3 seasons that she's out there somewhere. She just seems like a gimmick character and a plot device to further Homelander's character. We did get a bit of her backstory fleshed out through a conversation talking about how her grandma died of a disease and she wanted to prove to the authorities that she found out how to cure it, just to be turned down. I wish they would have done more of this for her character, but they really didn't. We don't even know what her motivation is and why she's doing all of this until the last episode.
Why would you do this?
To see if I could.
Bro, oh my fucking god. She did all of this because she just felt like it? To me, this just seems like the writers couldn't come up with a good enough motivation for her, so they were like, fuck it. Overall, this season should be called the asshole season for how many random ass subplots were thrown in. This season should have been like 3 or 4 episodes because we really didn't need Frenchie's boyfriend subplot. If Frenchie and his boyfriend was an element of his character in the previous seasons, I wouldn't mind too much about him getting closure with his trauma, but there was none of that, so I really don't give a fuck. The one thing I am happy about is that Frenchie and Kimiko are finally together by the end of this season.
To be honest, I don't know why you guys are shocked. I don't know why the people on Twitter are shocked. I don't know why the boys community is shocked. The boys has always been averaged. It's always been an average show and it hasn't been anything more than that. And people kept the boys on such a high pedestal. But to be honest, this season was good because it was a slap in the face to people to actually understand that The Boys has always been an average 5 out of 10 show at best. It didn't have the greatest writing, it didn't have the greatest characters, it didn't have the greatest structure, and this season completely proved it. I think a good starting point would be the actual boys. Yes, The Boys, the group, what the show is based off. First of all, why did Hughie have barely any screen time? That makes zero sense. His plotline was boring, nobody cared about his father, and the worst thing about Hughie's plot point is it literally went nowhere. This was a complete waste of time. A second character that was completely screwed was Frenchie. Frenchie's relationship with his boyfriend was so stupid and it made no sense when we had him and Kumiko's relationship built up so high. For the directors to bring this plot point that didn't matter, in the end we got the same thing that we got in season 3, which was Frenchie and Kumiko together, so it didn't matter at all. But the only redeeming factor was Butcher, because my boy Butcher got what was done. He did the work. He killed Newman and that was the main objective of the season. And yeah, that could have been done in episode 5, but generally they had to drag it out and it was like blind, isn't it? Everybody could see that they just dragged it out until the end. Newman should have died in episode 5 and then we should have gotten onto the Soups taking over, which would have been more intriguing, but I guess I just want to leave that for season 5. Butcher's plot point with Joe in his body or whatever the hell's going on with him, that plot point was actually kind of interesting and I genuinely liked it. Yeah, it was kind of like the Fight Club shit where it's like Tyler was never real and like the narrator did so much with Tyler Durden and then to find out he was never real. Like yeah, honestly I found that really interesting and I kind of liked it, but at the same time it was very obvious and I think they intended it to be kind of obvious, so I don't really mind it per se. One character I generally have to dick ride is probably A-Train, and I know you've probably seen the edits of him being a hero and doing what he always wanted to do and the stuff he said to MM, but honestly A-Train was written perfectly in this season. He's by far one of the best characters in the show. He's an absolute eye-opener and they honestly cooked with him. From a stubborn, annoying soup that just wanted power and to be the best, to somebody that actually wanted to save lives, and what he said to MM was like so sad at the fact of that kid seeing him as a superhero, and how happy he got at the fact of seeing that was honestly something that made me really happy. And the character development and the progression he went through since season 1 to season 3 and now going on season 4 to what he did was honestly something that I love so much. And honestly I think they did a really good job with him. I can't lie, I really didn't want A-Train to die in episode 10 and I'm happy they kept him out because I think he'd be more useful in season 5. And something kind of crazy is we finally got to see A-Train use his powers in combat, which was kind of cool with the Deep. But honestly, A-Train has been a character that has been pushed up to top 3 in my opinion, and I just really can't wait to see what they do with him in season 5, and I just hope they don't fuck him over. But the finale was, in my opinion, the best part. The finale was amazing. It was perfect. In boys' standards, Season 3's finale was absolute dog shit with what they did with Soldier Boy, because it genuinely made no sense. And it just all around made you hate Ryan. That's the whole thing Season 3 did. It just made you hate Ryan, because it was like, damn, this kid is actually backwards. Everything he does is backwards. And anytime there's any amount of progression, all they do is just kind of fuck him over, and then just make him become backwards again, and then just do something really stupid to annoy the fans, which is kind of funny, but at the same time, writing wise, I don't know why they do this. I know they can't kill him, because obviously in the end it is predictable Ryan's probably going to kill Homelander. I mean, everybody's seeing that coming, like there's no hiding that. But one thing I liked was the fact that they're showing that Ryan's humanity is kind of leaving him with killing Grace. And people look this over, but him and Grace spent a lot of time together. Grace was almost Ryan's replacement mother figure, and Grace's speech to Ryan was really sad, honestly. Was Grace selfish? Yes, but she had some truth to what she was saying. Now that's one redeeming factor towards Ryan, and I really do hope they try and get that plot point going more and more forward. But in boys fashion, I know they might screw it up, and I know they might just make Ryan completely evil and just make him go on a rampage and just start losing his morality even more and more, and his humanity just slowly slip away to becoming Homelander again, which I really don't want to happen, because A, it'll be boring, and B, it'll be kind of predictable. But I just hope they do something unique with him and don't just screw him up. And also, Sister Sage, I can't lie, was kind of fixed, because she was like the world's smartest person, but she also did mess up and did a lot of really stupid things. But her redemption in the ending, well, it wasn't really redemption, but like, it kind of was to the viewers and to Homelander, because we get to see what her true motives were, was something that was kind of cool. And I feel like this season, which I kind of hate, because another show that I really like, The Bear, they did the same thing where this season was really meant to set up season 5, but in boys fashion, they really can't write a season without having a random shitty bullshit plot point. So I hope they just kind of take all the crap that we've had, all the character development, put that on hold, and go for the main objective, in which is finishing the show in a satisfying ending. Because I think all the characters have developed, we've had all the plot points that really matter, and now, honestly, the Gen V is coming together, the boys is coming together, and I think it'll be kind of cool to see what the directors could do, and honestly just not fuck it over. That's like the main thing. Oh yeah, and I forgot, Soldier Boy coming back was probably the greatest thing.